I lost 10 years with my daughter because of anger. 10 years I can never get back. And the worst part? I didn't even realize what was happening until it was almost too late. You might think anger is just a natural emotion. Something that flares up and goes away. But let me tell you something that took me a decade to learn. Anger doesn't just disappear. It accumulates. It builds. And it destroys everything you care about while you're convinced you're just being honest or standing your ground. Today I'm going to share the brutal truth about what anger really costs you. Not just in relationships, but in your health, your career, your happiness, and your future. Because if someone had told me these things 15 years ago, my life would look completely different right now. Let's start with what nobody talks about. The hidden tax anger places on your body every single day. When you get angry, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. These are stress hormones designed for emergencies, fight or flight situations. But here's the problem. If you're angry regularly, your body stays in emergency mode constantly. Your blood pressure stays elevated. Your heart works harder than it should. Your immune system gets suppressed because your body thinks it needs to focus on immediate survival instead of long-term health. I didn't know this when I was yelling at my kids over homework. I didn't know this when I was snapping at my wife over small things. I thought I was just expressing frustration. What I was actually doing was slowly destroying my cardiovascular system. Studies show that people who experience frequent anger have a 19% higher risk of heart disease. That's not a small number. That's nearly 1 in 5 angry people developing serious heart problems directly because of their emotional patterns. But the physical damage is just the beginning. Let's talk about what anger does to your relationships. This is where the real devastation happens. This is where I lost those 10 years with my daughter. Here's what I didn't understand. Every time you explode in anger at someone you love, you're making a withdrawal from their trust account. At first, the account is full. They love you. They forgive you. They think it's just a bad day. But anger is like compound interest in reverse. Each explosion takes out more than the last one. And you don't realize the account is empty until suddenly the person you love won't talk to you anymore. Won't confide in you. Doesn't want to be around you. My daughter stopped telling me about her day when she was 12. I thought she was just becoming a teenager. Being moody. I didn't realize she had learned that sharing anything with me was a risk. Because if she said the wrong thing, if her grades weren't perfect, if her choices didn't match my expectations, I would explode. She learned to hide. To minimize. To keep her life separate from me. And by the time I figured out what was happening, we were strangers living in the same house. Now let's talk about your career. This is something most people completely overlook. They think anger at home is separate from anger at work. It's not. Anger is a pattern. A habit, a default response that shows up everywhere once it takes root. I watched my career plateau for years and blamed everyone else. My boss didn't recognize my talent. My colleagues were incompetent. The company didn't value hard work. But the truth was simpler and more painful. People didn't want to work with me. I had a reputation. The guy who loses his temper in meetings. The manager whose team walks on eggshells. The colleague who sends aggressive emails at midnight. Here's what anger does to your professional life. It makes people avoid you. They stop bringing you opportunities because they don't want to deal with your reaction if something goes wrong. They stop including you in important conversations because they're afraid you'll dominate or derail them. You become isolated. And in business, isolation equals stagnation. The best opportunities come through relationships. Through trust. Through people who want to work with you. Anger destroys all of that systematically. I missed out on 2 promotions that I know of. Probably more that I never even heard about. Not because I wasn't qualified, but because leadership didn't trust me to handle pressure without exploding. They were right not to trust me. I couldn't handle pressure. I just blamed everyone else for that fact. Let's dig deeper into the psychological cost. This is the part that sneaks up on you. Anger feels powerful in the moment. It feels like strength. Like you're standing up for yourself. Taking control. But it's an illusion. Anger is actually a secondary emotion. It's what psychologists call a defense mechanism. Underneath anger is almost always something more vulnerable. Fear. Hurt. Shame. Disappointment. But those emotions feel weak, so we convert them to anger because anger feels strong. Here's the trap. The more you rely on anger, the less access you have to your real emotions. You lose the ability to identify what you're actually feeling. Everything becomes anger. Someone criticizes you? Anger. Something doesn't go your way? Anger. You feel disappointed? Anger. You become emotionally illiterate. Unable to process or communicate what's really happening inside you. And this creates a terrible cycle. You can't express your real needs because you don't even know what they are. So nothing gets resolved. So you get more angry. So you become more disconnected from yourself. I spent years feeling angry and never once asked myself what I was really afraid of. I was afraid of failing. Afraid of not being good enough. Afraid of losing control. But I couldn't admit those fears even to myself. So I converted them all to rage and blamed the world for making me feel that way. Now let's talk about what anger does to your decision making. This is critical and most people never connect these dots. When you're angry, your prefrontal cortex shuts down. That's the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking, planning, and impulse control. Your amygdala takes over. That's your emotional, reactive brain. The part designed for survival, not strategy. So when you make decisions while angry, you're literally making them with a less intelligent version of yourself. I made terrible financial decisions while angry. I quit jobs impulsively. I made major purchases to feel better. I burned bridges with people who could have helped me. All because I was making choices from an angry, reactive state instead of a calm, strategic one. Think about the biggest regrets in your life. How many of them happened when you were angry? For most people, it's almost all of them. Because anger makes you stupid. It narrows your thinking. It makes you focus on short-term relief instead of long-term consequences. Here's something else I wish I'd known earlier. Anger is contagious. Especially in families. Children learn emotional regulation by watching their parents. If you handle frustration with anger, they learn to handle frustration with anger. I taught my kids that anger was the appropriate response to disappointment. To things not going your way. To people making mistakes. I didn't mean to teach them this. I thought I was just being myself. But children don't learn from what you say. They learn from what you do. My son developed anger problems in middle school. I was shocked. I couldn't understand where it came from. I took him to therapists. I blamed video games and his friends. It never occurred to me to look in the mirror. He was copying me. Perfectly. The therapist finally helped me see it. She asked me to describe how I handled stress. As I talked, I watched my son's face. He looked relieved. Like finally someone was connecting the dots. He wasn't broken. He was learned. And what had learned from me. Let's talk about the social cost of anger. Your reputation in your community matters more than you think. People talk. They share experiences. And angry people develop reputations that follow them everywhere. I became known in my neighborhood as the angry dad. The guy who yelled at kids for playing too loud. Who sent aggressive emails to the HOA. Who argued with coaches and teachers. I thought I was standing up for standards. Being principled. What I was actually doing was isolating my entire family. Other parents didn't want their kids playing with mine because they didn't want to deal with me. My wife stopped inviting people over because she was embarrassed by how I might act. My kids stopped bringing friends home. We became the family people avoided. And I blamed everyone else for being too sensitive. Too soft. Too weak. I never considered that maybe I was the problem. That my anger was creating a force field that pushed away everyone who might have enriched our lives. Now here's what finally changed for me. My daughter wrote me a letter on her 16th birthday. She didn't give it to me in person. She left it on my desk. And in that letter, she told me she was counting down the days until she could leave for college and never come back. She wrote that she loved me but didn't like me. That she was tired of being afraid in her own home. Not afraid I would hit her. I never did. But afraid of my mood. My reactions. My anger. She said living with me was like living with a bomb that could go off at any moment. That letter destroyed me. But it also saved me. Because for the first time, I really saw what my anger had cost, not in abstract terms, but in concrete, painful detail. I had lost my daughter. She was still living in my house, but I had lost her. I started therapy the next week. Real therapy. Not the kind where you go a few times and quit. The kind where you commit to actually changing. And here's what I learned. Anger was my way of avoiding responsibility for my own feelings and failures. When I was angry at my daughter's grades, I was really afraid I had failed as a father. When I was angry at my wife, I was really feeling inadequate as a husband. When I was angry at work, I was really terrified of being exposed as not good enough. But admitting fear and inadequacy felt unbearable. So I converted it all to anger and blamed everyone else. My anger was a shield. A way to never have to look at my own shortcomings. A way to always be the victim of other people's failures instead of the author of my own. Changing this pattern was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than any professional challenge. Harder than any physical challenge. Because it required me to sit with uncomfortable feelings instead of converting them to rage. It required me to be vulnerable instead of powerful. But here's what happened when I started to change. Slowly, painfully slowly, my daughter started talking to me again. Not about big things at first. Just small things. What she had for lunch. A funny thing that happened at school. Testing whether it was safe to share with me again. Each conversation was a deposit back into that trust account I'd depleted. Each time I responded with curiosity instead of criticism, with calmness instead of anger, I was rebuilding what had destroyed. It took 2 years. 2 full years of consistent, conscious effort before she really opened up to me again. Was it worth it? Absolutely. But I'll never get back those 10 years. Those middle school years when she needed a father she could trust. Those high school years when she was figuring out who she was. I was there physically. But I was absent emotionally because my anger had built a wall between us. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself, please listen. Your anger is costing you more than you know. It's costing you your health. Your relationships. Your career. Your reputation. Your children's emotional development. Your own happiness. And the tragedy is that you probably think you're justified. That your anger is reasonable given what you're dealing with. That other people need to change, not you. I thought all of that too. I was wrong. And every day I believed I was right was another day I destroyed what mattered most. You can change this. But you have to want to. You have to be willing to look at yourself honestly. To admit that your anger is your problem, not everyone else's. To do the hard work of learning new patterns. To sit with uncomfortable feelings instead of exploding. Get help. Find a good therapist. Read books on emotional regulation. Practice mindfulness. Learn to pause between stimulus and response. Build new neural pathways that don't default to anger. It's possible. I'm living proof. But you have to start now, because time doesn't stop. Your kids keep growing. Your relationships keep deteriorating. Your health keeps declining. Your opportunities keep passing you by. Every day you wait is another day you can't get back. I wish someone had told me all this 15 years ago. I wish I'd listened to the warning signs. I wish I'd changed before I lost so much. But I can't change the past. All I can do is share my story and hope it helps someone else avoid the same mistakes. Don't wait for a letter from your child. Don't wait for a heart attack. Don't wait for your spouse to leave. Don't wait until you've burned every bridge and destroyed every relationship. Start now. Today. This moment. Because the hidden cost of anger is everything that matters. And you don't realize how much you've lost until it's almost too late.